All right, guys. So we have something to talk about that is honestly quite ridiculous. It is just absurd how honestly dumb this is. So if we come over to the live arena stuff right now, it just ended. The season was very intense for players pushing. The last few days was absolutely crazy. But when we look at these rewards, this is what we thought people were getting. If you, at least I did, I thought players were going to get this. The chest earned by finishing first, second to 10th, and 11th through 100th will drop resources. The drops will vary depending on the chest. Now, when you're pushing, these rewards really aren't that good because the person pushing in first place has spent tens of thousands, maybe even 100,000 gems going for refreshes during the season. You're limited to so many per day. With the ramping price, like the 10, the 35, the 50, the 70, and then it's 100. And then you have unlimited. You can do as many 100 gem refreshes as you want in live arena, which becomes super, super expensive, especially if you're having fast fights. The first place person, without a doubt, spent an absurd amount of gems. Even the top 10 players spent a crazy amount. And even the top 100 players spent more gems than what most of you would like to do. But what makes this even worse is when you realize the chests that you thought you were getting these rewards from, which are not even that good to be honest, they're actually far worse. So top 100 right here, this player got a legendary skill tome, a sacred shard, and some other shenanigans. Basically a clan boss drop with some relic materials sprinkled in. We do have the 6-star pieces of gear, which is great. When you're climbing up in live arena, unfortunately, you are just going to be picking up some 5-star stuff throughout, which is unfortunate. Not for sure why there's even 5-star stuff involved in this, but you're going to be getting some 6-star stuff from this. Very nice. But epic crafting material, all this work for a death bell is basically what you're going to get. You have a chance of getting a live arena one, but you also have a chance of just pulling, an unholy grail, which we all have plenty of. That is crazy. The next person, okay? Another top 100 chest. This person got, once again, a clan boss drop with a few relics sprinkled in. We do have the avatar, which is pretty cool. And ultimately, players pushing for this aren't going for the actual, the rewards. They're going for the, hey, I placed this in live arena. I got this cool avatar frame, all that kind of stuff. But then we have this right here. We have a top 10 chest by Just Knock, actually. Congratulations to him and Lix for pushing and placing top 10. That's awesome. It's a huge grind there. But he got 2 rare champions, basically. 2 rares, a legendary skill tome. If you were to price this out, it'd be like less than $20. He probably spent $20 a day or even like in 3 days just in gem refills, unfortunately. Now we have 100 epic crafting material as well there. Crazy, crazy stuff. And then another top 100 chest right here. This is probably the best one so far. 100 legendary materials, a sacred shard, a mythical tome, and then some chests, which this is actually the top one, the 100th place person. Maybe that's the place to be. Either way, the rewards, guys, are really just not good. Now, why was I not showing my chest? Well, because unfortunately, I did not place it in the top 100. I'm going to go over why and talk about some things I'm going to do in the future, but I was pushing over the weekend. I didn't stream it or anything like that because I wanted to just hopefully focus on the push, which turned out to really not make much of a difference. I made so many small mistakes that really just don't work once you're playing against players who can capitalize on those mistakes pretty easily. There was several times where there was like enemy Nices or enemy Siegfrieds who I just did the wrong thing at the wrong time, and they would end up rezzing the whole team, or they would just do various different things that made it more difficult. This player right here, 10.9 million player power, definitely not free to play, but that's really impressive, honestly. Congratulations to Ash. I saw him up here as well. I played him a lot on stream, so it's awesome to see that he made it right there towards the end. This was a huge grind. Yesterday, I was pushing, and I ended up pushing during the time slot for me that was like 1 a.m. to 4 a.m., which is crazy. But I was like, okay, this will be the final push. I ended up pushing for like an hour or two, and then I was still 100 points away. And basically 100 points away means you need 10 wins with no losses. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just chasing and just right on the edge of it. There's just no reason to do this. I already whittled my gems down to basically nothing. There's no reason to continue. And I ended up placing just outside of top 100, which Plarium, why do you not have a leaderboard for more stuff than just top 100? You get 100 and then it's just like, okay, now you're just falling off the cliff. I could have been 101. I would have felt kind of bad. I'm not 101, obviously, but maybe I was top 200. That'd be pretty cool. Like, I feel like the live arena season stuff is kind of just a half-baked in a way. It was just general copied over to seasonal with less effort and some very, very poor rewards. All right, guys, so we talked about the end of season rewards and how they're just trash. We talked about top 100 and how I missed it. But now let's talk about some things that I can do, mistakes that I made, and how I can fix them. So number one, I made many mistakes, just small details. Okay, so tiny things like using Herbaeus' A2 instead of her A3, or A1 instead of switching forms, or using Siegfried's A3 instead of his A2, or just small things like that that cost me many, many, many matches, or using Commodus' A2 instead of his A3 versus a team with Stoneskin who I may or may not strip. So there's very small details like that that you can't really make in top 100 if you want to place and have a good win rate. My goal next season isn't to place top 100. If I do push into the season very intensely, my goal was actually to have a very good win rate. Now, I would say a good win rate would be 65%. If I can hold that, I'd be happy. Do my fights consistently, get a 65% plus win rate, we're going to be looking good. So a better win rate is going to be more important for me next season than just getting to top 100. I don't want to use a ton of gems to actually do this. So those small mistakes are something I need to limit and something I need to cut out and just pay more attention during my fights. The next thing I need to do is be more intentional and mindful between my fights and understand what's going on, where I'm losing, why I'm losing, and how to counter the champions who I'm losing against. The one champion who's been causing me significant trouble is Armand's. So Armand's is a champion who I currently just cannot let through. If I do, it ends up being a pretty risky fight because he just gets a turn and just completely shuts down my team, sheeps everybody, stuns everybody. And the few counters there are, I'm not using very many of them. So Polymorph is one of them. I don't have very many champions in Polymorph. Wand of Submission is another one. My only champion in Wand is Herbaeus. Another one, which is probably the one that I have to go with, is going to be Lockouts. So if I can increase skill cooldown, specifically on a champion who is not Crixia or Fabian, because both of these champions can weak hit versus Armand's. So neither one of these champions, I can really use that effectively. Now, Emic, does he have a lockout? No, he does not have a lockout. Oh, maybe it's on this ability? Either way, when attacked, okay. I was wondering what was going on there. But some champions I have, Commodus, he can lock out Armand's. Maybe I should just use his A3. Not going to weak hit. Warlord, Yumiko, both these champions can lock out Armand's and do very well. I didn't use these champions very much. Both these champions need to be brought in, of course, alongside a speed booster to get their turns. But both of these would be a good option to countering Armand's. Another champion who has given me a little bit of trouble is Marius. Now, Marius is not as bad because I have some ways to deal with him, but I will also have him fairly soon, which I'm really looking forward to. He is an amazing champion. He's not broken. I don't think he's OP. I don't feel bad when I lose to him. It's like, okay, well, the Marius wrecked me. What a surprise. But Armand's, he is a frustrating champion to lose to because it's just spamming abilities, and especially if you have Polymorph, it just becomes difficult. Like you can see here, I tried to get a lockout champion in there to lock Armand's out. This was a weak hit. I remember this one. I did get a victory, but I'm 90% sure it did weak hit there. And I get Commodus through and lock him out, I'm sure. This fight, I'm pretty sure I went first. I'm pretty sure it was a weak hit on the Armands. If it wasn't, I don't know how I would have lost that so easily. But I only had one nuker as well. I had 3 supports and 1 nuker, which is probably not the best situation. Here, very similar. This was just poor picks. I went very hard into the supports and didn't have enough damage. So I need to transition more into the more damage dealers, I think. This fight had 1 booster. Okay, this was a bot. Let's not worry about that. I don't have very many fights to even compare it to. Okay, this one, we had 2 damage dealers and 2 supports. This worked out well. No speed. Actually, we did have a speed boost somewhat with a Lil plus Necrit, so that ended up working pretty well. But in the future, I want to be more, I guess, analytical of my fights and pay more attention to what I'm winning versus losing to and just improve my win rate. My win rate was not 67%. That's the general. My win rate in the season was 56%. This is honestly not something I'm happy with. Don't want to accept that. I want to get up to at least 65%. 65%, in my opinion, is a very good win rate, especially if you don't have the Mariuses. And actually, no matter what, 65% is a very good win rate, no matter what you have, honestly. 65% is solid. You have a lot of players here that, 65% is definitely above average. what you're seeing here, looks like a lot of players are floating between that 60% range, with some players being under and some players being a little bit over. 57%, 50%, 57%, 61%. But yeah, 65% would be amazing. If I could get that, I'd be more than happy with it. With the next season, I'm not going to push up as fast and as hard because, to be honest, it's just doing yourself more of a disservice, because what happens is you start to get, funneled into just fighting the same 4 people. If you're beating them, that's great. If you're losing, not so fun. But I played against, I think, every single person. Congrats to Tommy Boy and Rodney. Awesome job. And CRG there. I played against all these people a few times. But you end up just playing the same people many times. Now, I've had a lot of awesome fights. Rythern had some really tough fights as well. Had awesome fights against basically all these players. All very strong people. But pushing up so fast really just, like I said, does yourself a disservice, because you're just fighting the same people, the same other very strong accounts for a long time. Taking it slower at the beginning of the season will end up giving you a higher win rate, and you probably won't end up doing significantly more fights to actually get back up here either. So the first few days, I'll probably push a little bit slower and then crank it up as the season goes on. All right, guys, so about the season, what they could do to make this a little bit better. 1, make it to where players are limited to how many fights they could do per day that contribute to their points. Maybe make it 15, 20, make it a decent number, but limit it. So where win rate becomes more of a deciding factor versus just spamming all the fights in the world, because then you have players like Crypto, which grinds a ton, but you have a lot of these accounts with multiple people playing on them, which is literally impossible for anybody else to even compete. This guy did like 60,000 gems probably worth of resets, an average of 191 fights per day. So 190 fights per day, that's unheard of. He did more fights in like a week than I did the entire month or more. And I was doing a lot of grinding, a whole lot of grinding. Some days playing most of the time windows myself, but they're just doing way more. Crazy amount of gems. And basically this lends itself to people spamming gem refreshes to get into top 100. I could have done more gem refreshes and gotten the top 100. It would have costed a lot, but it could have been done. Now, another thing they could do to make this more interesting is make the seasons have special requirements. So have seasons. Now, this is not going to fix the point breakdown and the placing stuff, but it could make for some more interesting content where seasons, or maybe even something separate in the game, where it's okay, you can't use mythical champions, or you can't use certain affinity champions, something a little bit more creative, even if it's just for like a week. That could be kind of cool. It could be fun. But as far as fixing seasonal content, it needs to be more seasonal based, right? Like something special in the season to where players feel like they're not just playing live arena, just extra rewards. The extra rewards are cool, but all this is just live arena with extra rewards. There's nothing else extra special about this other than placing top 100. But if you can't place top 100, then it's irrelevant. And having just this greater than 100 is kind of garbage as well. Because players who are, top 500, that's still a thing to push for. Top 1,000, this is all something still to push for. They have it in the regular season. I don't know why they don't have it over here as well. That's kind of goofy. But either way, changing that would be very nice also. But honestly, just opening up Live Arena to where I could click on somebody and be like, okay, let's set up a Live Arena friendly match. That would be like the way to go, honestly. Like, let the community make their own seasonal content. We could do our own tournaments and things like that, where it's limiting to certain affinities, certain rarities, all this kind of stuff. We could limit our own things, and that would be great. That would have so much community engagement that, friendly live arena matches would be just so cool. So ultimately, seasonal stuff was fun for the competitive aspect, but as far as the rewards and the difference from live arena, it wasn't very interesting. It was just basically a new leaderboard. That's really all it was, just so players could feel more competitive. Basically like when a game makes a new server, when the old server is too old and people can't compete no more, makes a new server, people go over there, they whale out, and they go back to the regular server and they chill out. That's all this is, unfortunately. I'm hoping that Playergum changes this so it's a bit more competitive in the future and a bit more, okay, don't just spam gyms, you're limited to fights, or maybe there's special conditions, whatever it may be. Something should be changed because this is just not a great way to have the season. We have a cooldown of 1 week and 6 days. Hopefully they think of something pretty cool in that time frame. During that time frame, I think I'll be doing like some I don't know, some unique champions in Live Arena, testing out some different strategies and just kind of having fun with it during this time. And then during the season, I'll try to push a little bit harder. Next season, I will be focused on my win rate being good and not so much on just trying to get the top 100. So if I get 65% win rate, I'll be super happy with that. We'll see how it goes. But guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.